No, that's not what Friendsgiving is. Friendsgiving is when you have a bunch of friends who are like your family. Oh, I hear voices. I knew you'd be here.
Hey, Marty.
A lucky guess. Good Shabbos. I heard. Well, we're halfway to a minion. Actually, more than that. 1, 2, 4,
Hello.
5, 6, 7. That's 7. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Nothing.
What's that?
He asked what was new and exciting.
Oh,
I said nothing.
Where are the Jews?
In a food coma from last night.
Yeah, well.
I already had my leftovers for lunch, so I'm done. 2, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, 7, not 8. We need 2 more. I'm assuming Glenn's here, so that's 1 more for a minion. Yeah, we are. I'm sorry, yeah. Take a First Friday book outside. I know, but when we leave, we like to use it.
No, she's my niece. Yeah.
I'm Joanne.
I do work right now at CBI-T. Almost finishing up my computer science degree right now. Full semester done finally, so. Go for a master's, so.
2. Yep. Yeah, so it was good. Actually, Matthew's home for the next 8 weeks. He has his clinical in Hamilton. And Stephen worked in Westfield last night. We have our menu. We have a menu. Almost.
Shabbat Shalom. We're going to start in a moment. Rabbi is with his family in Florida, and he got us tonight. We begin on page 1 with Yedi Nefesh.
Yeah, we'll be in the First Friday booklets tonight, even though it's not First Friday. Before we begin, I just want to share a little on a personal note. As I was getting ready to come this evening, I got a text from Cantor Jake Greenberg, our beloved Jake, with some sad news that a mutual friend of ours had passed away this morning. And the mutual friend was a teacher of his when Jake was at JTS studying to become a chazan. And it so happens the person who passed away was my chazan, Cantor Charles Davidson, from a congregation at Jeshurun in Elkins Park, Pennsylvania, where I grew up. And I'm going to share some of his music later at the end of our davening tonight, but I just thought it quite ironic that tonight when Avram and I have the bima, that I have the opportunity to think about, belovedly, those of us who belong to the synagogue would refer to him as Uncle Cantor, because he was that warm, fuzzy, loving character, yet he was very esteemed and revered in the cantorial world. He taught at JTS, like I said. He shared his talents with cantors and rabbis and wrote liturgy and was even honored at the White House throughout his career. After Shabbat, please feel free to Google Cantor Charles Davidson, because he was quite a human being, quite a Jew, and quite a chazan. We begin on page 7 with Yedid Nefesh. Yedid Nefesh, Av HaRachaman, Meshach Ochavtach El Ritzonach, Yarutz Avtach Kemo Ayam, Yishtachavemol Hatarach, Ki Erav Lo Yedidutach, Mino Fetsuf Vechol Ta'am Hatorna'eh Siv Ha'olam Nafshi Cholat Ahavatach Ana Elna Rifana La v'titrafe v'haytalach shivchat olam. Yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da.
A short Shabbos story to get us in the mood. It's called A Tzaddik's Tear. About 30 years ago, an American rabbi visiting Miami, Florida, gave a lecture on the accomplishments of the famed Chafetz Chaim, Rabbi Israel Meir HaKohen Kagan, 1838 to 1933. He described the life of the great sage who lived a humble life as a shopkeeper in a village in Poland, yet was recognized throughout the world as a scholar, a tzaddik, a righteous man, and a leader. He began to relate an incident about a teenage boy at that time in the Chafetz Chaim's yeshiva who was found smoking a cigarette on Shabbat, the sacred day of rest. The faculty and the student were shocked, and some of the faculty felt that the boy should be expelled. But the Chafetz Chaim said, "Bring him to my home." At this point, the rabbi interrupted the narrative and said, "I don't know what the Chafetz Chaim said to the boy. I only know that after he spoke to him, the boy had never desecrated Shabbat the rest of his life." After his talk, he saw an old man in the pews that hadn't left. And when he went over to him, the old man said, "Where did you hear the story of this cigarette on Shabbat?" And the lecturer said, "I don't remember. Someone told me it years ago." And the man said, "That little boy was me. I was the one who smoked the cigarette on Shabbat." It happened in 1920 when the Chafetz Chaim was in his 80s. I was terrified to go to his house and face him. But when I got to his home and I looked around, and I was in disbelief of the poverty he lived in, to think such a scholar should live this way. Suddenly he was in the room where I was waiting. He was remarkably short. At that time I was a teenager, and he only came up to my shoulders. He took my hand and clasped it tenderly in his. He brought my hand in his own clasped hand to his face. And when I looked into his face, his eyes were closed, and tears started to come out. When he opened them, they were filled with tears. He said in a hushed voice, "Shabbat." That's all he said. And he started to cry. He was still holding my hands in his hand, and while he was crying, he repeated, "Shabbat." My heart started pounding and became more frightened than I'd ever been before. Tears streamed down his face, and one of them rolled onto my hand. I thought it would bore a hole right through my hand. It was so warm. When I think of that tear today, I can still feel the heat. I can't describe how awful it felt to know that I made the tzaddik weep like this. But in his rebuke, which was only a few words, I felt that he was not angry, but felt sad and fearful for me. He seemed frightened at my consequences. The elderly man then caressed the hand that bore the invisible scar of a precious tear. It had become the permanent reminder to hold the Shabbat dear. The power of a tzaddik's tear. We continue on page 1. Lechu niranena.
Lechu niranena l'Adonai, nari aletzor yishenu, nikadma fanav b'todah, bizmirot nari alo.
Page 2.
No, page 3. Page 3. Roman numeral.
Sure.
Yeah, page 3.
All right, we're going to argue again. We went over this earlier.
Okay, fine. Page 2. I skipped it.
Tonight, we do this all the time. Tonight, we
Shir Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shir Adonai, Kol
On
Haaretz.
page 2, the first paragraph in English. Let's read together. Sing to Adonai a new song. Sing to Adonai all the earth. Describe God's glory to the nations. Speak of God's wonders among all peoples. For the gods of the nations are man-made idols, but Adonai fashioned the very heavens. Grandeur and glory stand guard. Strength and splendor in God's holy temple.
Hod v'hador lefanav, oz v'tiferet, b'mikdasho.
Top of page 3 for Roman.
Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Vehishtachavu Lehar Kadsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Vehishtachavar Lehar Kadsho. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu.
We continue with Mizmor LeDavid.
Mizmor LeDavid. Havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim. Havu l'Adonai kavod va'os. Havu l'Adonai kavod shemo. Ishtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh. Kol Adonai al hamayim. Akavod hirim. Adonai mayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koach. Kol Adonai be'ador. Kol Adonai shover arazim. Vaishaber Adonai et arsei halvanon. Vayarkidain kemo egel Levanon. Vesirion kemo ven re'emim. Kol Adonai chotev lavodesh. Kol Adonai yachil midbar. Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh. Kil Adonai yecholel ayalot. Vayechesov ye'arot. Uvechalav kulo omer kavod. Adonai lamabu yashav. Vayeshav Adonai melech liolam. Adonai os liamo yitin. Adonai yivarech et amav shalom. Adonai yivarech et amav shalom.
Lachadodi, on page 4, is a beautiful poem welcoming the Sabbath bride, the Sabbath queen. Lachadodi was composed in the 16th century by Shlomo Halevi Alkabetz, who later in his life became a Kabbalist. They say when he wrote Lachadodi, he sat in the fields in nature, and that is why the imagery is so beautiful. He composed these poems to welcome the Sabbath queen, and it happens to be, if people may not know this, it's an acrostic. Acrostic is a literary device used with the alphabet, in our case, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, all the way to top. Remember, Judaism at one time, it was not written down, it was very oral. It was passed down verbally from people to people. So acrostics became very important, became a way to remember. Does anyone know the famous acrostic we sing on Shabbat? I'm sure you do. It's the Ashrei.
Well, we say that every day too.
What?
We say it every day too. Every day we say the Ashrei. Every day.
Absolutely. And the Ashrei is a perfect example because it's Aleph, Bet, Gimel, the whole Aleph. That's why the whole alphabet. That's why it's so easy to teach children. Usually, Ashrei is one of the first prayers the kids learn from the Bima. Well, in this one, it's a bad example because on our page 4, it's only a portion of Lachadodi. It's a shortened version. But it starts out Shin, Lamed, Hey, and it spells out the author's name. If you go from each letter, it spells out Shlomo Halevi Alkabetz, which is very unusual. So I think it was his way of gaining immortality because it was written 500 years ago, and yet we're still talking about it today. So I guess it was pretty good. Lachadodi, page 4.
Lechadodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala Pene Shabbat nekabela, Shamor v'sachor b'tibor echad, Ishmianu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, Ushmo echad, L'shemol tiferet v'litila, Lechadoti likrat kala, Pene Shabbat nekabela, Likrat Shabbat lechuven elcha, Ki hi mekor habracha, Merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tehila, Lechatoti likrat kala, Pene Shabbat nekabela, Yamin usmo tifroti, V'et Adonai ta'ariti, Yadish ben parti, V'ni smecha Gila lechatoti likrat kala, Pene Shabbat nekabela,
Face the door.
Bo'i v'shalom teret bala, Gam b'simcha u'tzahala, Toch emunei Bo'i chala, Lechatoti likrat kala, Pene Shabbat nekabela.
Please be seated as we turn to the top of page 5 for Mizmor Shir.
Mizmor Shir leyom haShabbat, Shir leyom haShabbat. Mizmor Shir leyom haShabbat, Shir leyom haShabbat. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, Usamer l'shimcha elyon, Lahagid b'boker chastecha, Ve'emunatcha b'leilot. Mizmor Shir leyom haShabbat, Shir leyom haShabbat. Mizmor Shir leyom haShabbat, Shir leyom haShabbat.
We now turn to page 6 for the first mourner's Kaddish. If you're saying Kaddish, if you're mourning, please rise in body or in spirit. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbato.
Amen.
V'yamad yivra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon u'v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. V'gala u'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shema. Aleinu Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithalel v'yithalal shemei dekudusha
Brichu.
le'ela mikor birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechemata damiran v'yama v'meru.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba min shema v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'meru. Amen. Osei shalom v'imru Hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'meru. Amen. At this time we rise for page 7, the Baruch.
Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. Let's read English together on the bottom of page 7. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from light, who makes day pass into night, who distinguishes day from night. Adonai Tzebaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. Praise you, Adonai, who brings on the evening dusk.
Uma'avir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uven laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu, leolam va'ed, Baruch ata Adonai, hama'avir aravim.
Top of page 8, Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha havta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu, B'shachbenu u'v'kumeinu, Nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha, li'olam va'ed, ki hem chayenu, v'yorech yameinu, uvahem Negeh Yomam Valayla, Vahavatecha Al Tasir Mimenu Leolamim, Baruch Ata Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Top of page 9, we read the Vahavta together.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meotecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlektecha v'derech shachbecha ukshartam le'ot ayatecha v'hayu l'totafot beinenecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha.
We continue silently to the bottom of page 9.
Adonai Elohechem emet.
Please turn to page 10 for Michamocha.
Umalchuto bertzin kiblu alehem, Moshe v'nei Yisrael, lecha anu shira b'simcha rabba, v'amru chulam, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha netar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, Osef ele, Malchuto ra'u v'necha bokei lifnei Moshe, ze Elianu v'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, v'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, uga'alo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch ata Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chayim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, haparei sukkot shalom, aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim.
Please rise on page 11 for the Vishamra.
V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Please continue to stand at the bottom of page 11 as we prepare for the silent Amida, Chatzi Kaddish.
יקרא ויקרא שמי רבה,
Amen.
ביאמה דברך ירתה וימליך מלכותה, בחייכון ובימיכון ובחייתך בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם לעולם מיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויפר ויתרומם וינשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן.
The silent Amida goes from page 12 to page 15, where we will resume again. This is the pinnacle of our service, the part of our service we're closest to God. This is a good time to add your own personal prayers to God. Page 12.
Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael.
We now go to the top of page 17 for the Kaddish Shalom.
No, 16. Vayichulu.
My book says 17.
Yeah, well, you're wrong.
Whatever you want.
Vayichulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzevam. Vayichal Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa. Vayichbod bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa. Vayevarech Elohim et Yom Hashvi'i, Vayekadesh oto, ki vo shavat mikol melachto, ki vo shavat mikol melachto, asher bara Elohim la'asot, asher bara Elohim Lasot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora El Elyon Konei Shamayim Va'aretz.
Now can we go to page 17?
Yeah.
Kaddish Shalom.
Yikara Shemei Rabbah B'yama divrach yirtei v'amleach malchutei b'chayechon uv'yamechon uv'chayei t'chol beit Yisrael b'gala v'isman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach li'olam le'omei omaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitraman v'yitnasei Vitadar vitale vitala shmei dekudasha le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiran bi'alama v'imaru
Amen.
tikabal tzlatahon uvotahon dechol Yisrael kadam avuhon di v'shmaya v'imaru Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imaru Amen. Ose shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru amen.
Please rise for the Kiddush.
Which is not in the First Friday booklet, but it's in the Siddur from which I will chant.
And we will trust that Joanne will get it correct.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kadsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kitashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kadshecha bi'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat.
Please be seated. Yesterday was Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is an American holiday that we as Jews can feel great about celebrating. After all, there's not that many of them. There aren't many holidays that we can say that. However, there are some Jews, mainly some Orthodox Jews, who will not celebrate Thanksgiving because of the undertone of the Pilgrims and the Christianity. However, there is a line in Leviticus that our religion goes by that says, Leviticus 18:3 prohibits us from celebrating Gentile holidays. You must not do as they do in Egypt or Canaan. But Thanksgiving doesn't qualify for that prohibition. That prohibition is more of Christmas, Easter, Halloween, but not Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is an American holiday, and we can do it freely and happily. The first Thanksgiving included 90 Native Americans and 50 English settlers in Plymouth, Massachusetts, 1621. Interestingly enough, there are a lot of similarities between the first Thanksgiving and the holiday of Sukkot that we recently have gone through. A lot of people feel that that's our Thanksgiving. The images are the same. If you look at the pictures of the sukkah and the schak and the hay and the pumpkins and the squash and the fruit and the vegetables, it's the same as the Thanksgiving, except without the turkey. We just had Sukkot not long ago. That was God, the new harvest, thanking God for the new harvest and our bounty. We celebrate the transience of life and our gratitude to God for our care during our exodus from Egypt. We remember that we are just strangers and sojourners like our fathers before us, passing through the world to the promised land. The Pilgrims knew their Bible. Our 5 books of Moses is their Old Testament. The festival of Sukkot is referred to them in their book as the Festival of Tabernacles. Also, before coming to America, many historians wrote about Calvinists and Puritans spending time in Holland among Sephardic Jews. At that time, Holland was known for a safe haven for religious persecution. It is at that time that they feel that the Puritans experienced Jews celebrating Sukkot. In their writings, the Puritans called themselves the New Israel. Just as we left Egypt to the Promised Land to be able to pray to our God, they came to the Promised Land of America to do the same. They also refer to themselves as the Second Exodus. So, what better Jewish values is there than thanking God for our food, for eating with family and friends? In fact, on Passover, during Halach Ma'anya, we welcome strangers into our home who are hungry. So you see, we have a lot of similarities between Thanksgiving and Sukkot, and relations to more in common with the Pilgrims than we may think. Please rise as you turn to page 18 for Alina.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latei gedula liotzer breshit, shalo asanu kegoye haratzot, velo samanu kamishpachot adama, shalo sam chelkenu kahem, vigor aleinu kechol hamonam, vanachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגבי מרומים Hu Eloheinu ein od emet malkeinu efesulato kakatuv b'torato ויתת היום, ויתת היום והשבותה אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת. אין עוד, רק כן נקווה לך אדוני בדברי תוזכר. ככבוד בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad.
For those who are mourning, please rise on page 19 for the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'yamal divrak hiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. B'agalah u'b'zman karib v'miru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam omei omaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yithalel v'yithalal Shmei dekudishah. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tu shebechata v'nechamata. Tamiran v'yama v'miru. Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shamayim. V'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael. Miru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mrumav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'yakol Yisrael. Miru. Amen. At this time, I'd like to call Dr. Glenn Jacobs, our president, for announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. I see on the top it is its anniversary Shabbat. Anybody here for their anniversary? Good, then I don't have to do anything. Wait, where? Oh, stand up, tell us about it. How many years do you remember? Because if you don't, you're in trouble. 61.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. We congratulate you on 61 years. I'm not sure I'll make it that far. Anyway, so, Mazel tov. Congregation extends our condolences to Dr. Brian and Ruth Kerr on the loss of Brian's beloved father and our fellow congregant Marvin Kerr. Condolences to the Shames and DiGiacomo and Wiener families on the loss of their beloved mother and grandmother Shirley Shames. A mazel tov to Carol Oppenheim on the marriage last weekend of her granddaughter Samantha Bamberger to Greg Herbert. Following services, we have an Oneg Shabbat. Services the coming week, morning minyan in person and on Zoom, Sunday morning at 9, Monday and Thursday mornings at 7:45 a.m. in person and on Zoom. Upcoming events on Tuesday evening, November 28th, which was recently scheduled. It's Shevis Masternardi is going to speak on his recent mission to Israel. He has a PowerPoint presentation. I'm told it's very interesting. So if you can come out, it was arranged. He just got back last weekend, I think, on Sunday. A number of sheriffs from the country that toured and saw what they were doing during this time. Friday, December 1st at 6 p.m. is First Friday Shabbat with a dinner. It's an Italian meal. Look at your bulletin, contact the office to make reservations. Sunday, December 3rd, following morning minyan at 9 a.m., Men's Club will have a breakfast program featuring Captain James Howell of the Joint Base McGuire-Dixon Lakers. On Monday, December 4th at 12 p.m. is a Hanukkah wrap sponsored by the Mitzvah Care Committee. Bring a gift, participate in wrapping gifts for our Meals on Wheels recipients. Luncheon will be served. Please respond by Monday. They extended that deadline. On Wednesday, December 6th at 7 p.m., Rabbi will be having a discussion on Zoom only on the mystery of Hanukkah, God's hand or Jewish power. Each year, CBI participates in the Interfaith Family Services gift-giving program. This year, we are purchasing gifts and supporting a mother and her 2 children. Gifts must be purchased by December 3rd. Contact Alyssa White Trav for more information. Sunday, December 10th at 5 p.m. is our Hanukkah celebration and candle lighting. Latkes Bar and more. Shabbat Shalom.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear how many years you're married? 61? You know, please rise again. Please rise again. Give us an opportunity to thank God for allowing you to reach this day. Together. Baruch
Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Amen. We're going to end with Adon Olam tonight, and Joanne will explain how and why.
This melody is a melody that was composed by Cantor Charles Davidson, and it was played joyfully at Adith Jeshurun, where I grew up in Elkins Park, Pennsylvania. And in our services, we had an organ. We had a choir and an organ. And my recollections of when this melody of Adon Olam was played, the organ was blaring and everybody was singing and everybody was celebrating the end of services. Sometimes it was played on Friday night, but mostly on Shabbat morning. So it's a melody that will be easy to catch on because there's a lot of bim-bums and diddy-dies. And if there's one thing we Jews know, is bim-bums and diddy-dies. Okay, so please feel free to join in. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'et Nasa B'chef Sokol Azai Melech Shemo Nigra Yida Yida Biddy Bum Biddy 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 Bum Didim Bum Bim Bum by Biddy Biddy Bum Bim 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 Bum V'acharei kichlot hakol levato yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu oveh v'hu yiyeh b'tifara yida yida biddy bum biddy 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 bum bidim bum bim bum by biddy biddy bum bim 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 bum V'hu echad v'ein sheni lehamshilo lehachbira b'li reshit b'li tachlit v'lo ha'oz v'hamisra yida yida biddy bum biddy 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 bum bidim bum bim bum by biddy biddy bum bim 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 bum V'hu elai v'chai goali v'tzor chevli b'yetzara v'hu nisi umanosli menat kosi b'yom ekra yida yida biddy bum biddy 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 bum bidim bum bim bum by biddy biddy bum bim 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 bum Biado afkid ruchi bi'etishan bi'aira bi'im ruchi geviati Adonai li v'lo ira yida yida biddy bum biddy 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 bum bidim bum bim bum by biddy biddy bum Bim, 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 bam. Shabbat Shalom. Please join us in the back for the oneg, and we'll gather shortly.
none on this side.